Salam, peace be upon you. We will begin with a woven summary of what we have certified so far, and we will keep it strict. We have certified that episode 14 is a compiler, not a worldview. We have certified that only differences in phi are speakable, never an absolute phi. We have certified that every public claim must live inside a licensed finite window with a passport that names its boundary, mask, and conditions. We have certified a coherence threshold, gamma, of the window. So below gamma minimum, we may log data, but cannot certify structure. We have certified the identifiability gate. So if the data cannot identify the parameter content, the claim is not wrong, it is undefined. And we have certified the operational ceiling, n max of the window. So depth beyond that ceiling is illegal and must be deleted from the certified ledger. Now we arrive at part 13. And this part is the final lock on the entire licensing block. Because even if you have a passport, even if your window is coherent, even if your parameters are identifiable, and even if you stay beneath the ceiling, you still have one last way to destroy public knowledge. You can speak as if you are certain when you are not. And if we allow that, then everything we built becomes decoration. It becomes a costume of rigor worn over storytelling. So in this part, we make one brutal rule that sounds simple, but changes the entire culture of claiming. No priced uncertainty, no public claim. Let us say it again, slowly, the way we want it to land in the bones. No priced uncertainty, no public claim. Uncertainty is not a shame. It is not a weakness. It is the credential. It is the entry ticket into public language. It is what separates knowledge from performance. It is what separates a measurement from a myth. And because we are writing a compiler, not a poem, we do not merely recommend this, we enforce it. This part installs the uncertainty quantification gate, the replication gate, and the auditability gate. And it installs a revocation rule that does not negotiate with pride. If your uncertainty accounting fails, your certification is revoked. Not debated, not reinterpreted, revoked. Your output leaves the certified ledger and is reclassified into the raw log or into the negative archive, depending on the failure class. That is the mission. Now let us build it in everyday language with images you can feel. Imagine two bridges over the same river. Bridge A has a beautiful sign at the entrance. It says, "Strongest bridge in the region." It has paintings, it has banners. People take photos. But there is no load rating posted, no inspection record, no numbers, just confidence. Bridge B looks ordinary, but at the entrance it has a metal plate that says, "Maximum load, 10 tons. Built to standard. Inspected on these dates. Wind tolerance, this. Temperature tolerance, that." And beside it, there is a book of inspection reports. Which bridge do we let a school bus cross? In public knowledge, uncertainty is the load rating. Without it, a claim may still be true in some private sense, but it is not allowed to be public. It is not allowed to be used by others as a stable plank in the shared floor of science. So part 13 is our load rating law. Now we need to be precise about what we mean by uncertainty. Because in ordinary talk, people hear uncertainty and they think it means we do not know. Or they think it means anything goes. Or they think it means science is weak. No. In this program, uncertainty means something very strict. Uncertainty is the priced and propagated range of doubt that rides along with every output of the pipeline. It is the difference between saying, "We saw something, trust us," and saying, "We saw this, and here is exactly how much it could be off, and here is why, and here is how that doubt flows through every step from sensor to conclusion." So we do not accept uncertainty as a decorative plus minus at the end. we require an uncertainty budget. A budget is an accounting ledger. It is a list of every cost. It is receipts, not vibes. And because we are still inside episode 14, we do not talk about dynamics or stories of what happens. We only talk about certification conditions. This is about what must be attached to a claim so it can be publicly readable and auditable. So let us name the core claim of this part in compiler language and then translate it. Core. Every certified output must include an uncertainty lineage, and that lineage must survive audit and replication within declared bounds. Now translate it into everyday language. If we cannot show where our doubt comes from, and how big it is, and how it changes when we process the data, then we are not allowed to speak as if we have knowledge. That is it. Now let us anchor this in the holophase ontology lock so we do not accidentally smuggle forbidden things. We still have only one primitive, phi, a map from events to the circle, meaning pure cyclic comparability. We still only speak differences, delta phi, inside licensed windows. We still treat omega, kappa, and nu as readouts of one differentiation, not as time, space, and motion primitives. We still treat energy as tele, a count of distinguishable comparison activity, never as a substance. And we are still doing a compiler, not describing anything happening. Good. Now, why is uncertainty mandatory? Because without it, a claim cannot be compared across windows. Public knowledge is not just a statement. Public knowledge is a statement that can survive contact with other people, other instruments, other conditions. It must survive replication, not by being identical, but by landing within the expected range. And the only way to even define expected range is to price uncertainty. So, uncertainty is what makes replication meaningful. Now we introduce the key phrase of this part, the one we want the listener to remember. Uncertainty is the credential. If a claim has no credential, it cannot enter the public ledger. Now, let us show this with a simple, almost childish example, because the point is fundamental. We place a cup of water on a table. Two people measure its temperature with two thermometers. Person 1 says it is 20 degrees. Person 2 says it is 22 degrees. Are they disagreeing? Maybe. But maybe not. If person 1 says 20 degrees plus or minus 2 degrees, and person 2 says 22 degrees plus or minus 2 degrees, then they are not disagreeing. Their ranges overlap. The difference is within uncertainty. But if person 1 says 20 degrees plus or minus 0.1, and person 2 says 22 degrees plus or minus 0.1, then we have a real conflict, because now the ranges do not overlap. So uncertainty is not a footnote. It determines what counts as disagreement. Now scale it up. In cosmology, one team says the expansion rate is 67 and a bit, with a small uncertainty. Another team says it is 73, with a small uncertainty. That is a serious tension only because the uncertainty budgets are small. If the uncertainties were large, it would not be a crisis. It would be normal variance. So the fight is not only about the numbers. It is about whether the uncertainty budgets are honest. This is exactly why Part 13 matters. Because if teams underestimate uncertainty, they create fake conflict. If teams overestimate uncertainty, they hide real structure. The job is to price uncertainty correctly. Now, in an audio narration, we must avoid writing equations as symbols. So when we say the uncertainty budget, we speak it like this. We do not say plus minus with a symbol. We say plus or minus. We do not write sigma. We say sigma, and we explain it as the standard measure of spread. We do not write CRLB, we say the Kramer-Rao lower bound, and we immediately translate it as the best possible precision limit given the data. We do not write Nmax of W. We say Nmax of the window, the ceiling order. We do not write gamma minimum. We say gamma minimum, the coherence threshold. And we do not write delta phi. We say delta phi, differences in phi. Good. Now we must define what goes into an uncertainty budget in a way an average person can follow. Here is the simplest way to think about it. Every claim is like a meal you cooked. The uncertainty budget is your ingredient list, plus your kitchen conditions, plus your cooking mistakes, all written down honestly. If you do not list the ingredients, nobody can reproduce it. If you do not mention your oven runs hot, nobody can reproduce it. If you do not mention you guessed the salt, nobody can reproduce it. And if you insist the dish is perfect when you actually tasted nothing, you are not cooking, you are performing. So uncertainty budgeting is the honesty of cooking. Now let us make it more structural. An uncertainty budget has 5 big families, and we will keep them every day. First family, instrument uncertainty. This is doubt from the tool itself. Is the ruler warped? Is the thermometer drifting? Is the telescope misaligned? Is the microphone noisy? Is the sensor saturated? Is there a blind spot? Second family, measurement uncertainty. This is doubt from the act of measuring. Did we sample enough? Did we measure long enough? Did we capture the full range? Was the environment stable? Was there wind, vibration, heat changes, background interference? Third family, processing uncertainty. This is doubt from what we do after the measurement. Did we filter the data? Did we remove outliers? Did we smooth? Did we choose a threshold? Did we subtract a background? Did we use one algorithm instead of another? Did we compress? Fourth family, model uncertainty. This is doubt from the structure we assume to interpret the data. Did we assume linearity? Did we assume independence? Did we assume a simple curve? Did we ignore some effects? Did we choose a convenient form that might not match reality? Fifth family, human uncertainty. This is doubt from us. Bias, expectation, selection, and choices that could have gone another way. Now, in a strict compiler sense, we do not shame humans for being humans. We just price it. We do not pretend it does not exist. We include it, or we declare we cannot quantify it, and we add a conservative floor. That is a key point. A real uncertainty budget always contains a small unknown unknowns floor. This is our humility tax. It is the admission that we may have missed something. It is never zero. Now, what does propagate mean? It means if your raw measurement has uncertainty, and you then compute something from it, the uncertainty must be carried forward into the computed thing. If you measure length and width with uncertainty, and then compute area, the area has uncertainty too. It is not magic. It is arithmetic of doubt. And if you do a long pipeline from raw sensor to compiled structure, the uncertainties travel through every step like dye through water. So we require an uncertainty propagation ledger. Now we bring in the compiler gates. Gate 1, the uncertainty quantification gate. This gate checks 3 things. 1, completeness. Did you list all major sources of uncertainty? Not perfection, but the major ones. 2, quantification. Did you put numbers or clear bounds? If you cannot put a number, did you declare it and add a conservative floor? 3, propagation. Did you carry uncertainties through your transformations without cheating? including correlations when needed. If you fail this gate, you do not enter the certified ledger. You may still have raw logs, but you do not have certified structure. Gate 2, the replication gate. This gate is subtle. It does not demand that others get the same number. It demands that your uncertainty budget predicts the spread others should see. If you say your uncertainty is small and replications consistently fall outside it, your budget was dishonest or incomplete, and your claim is revoked. If you say your uncertainty is large and replications cluster tighter than you claimed, that is not a failure, but it means your budget may be overly conservative. That can be improved, but it is not a moral crime. The crime is the other direction, underpricing uncertainty. Gate 3, the auditability gate. This gate asks, can a competent outsider audit your uncertainty budget? Do you provide enough information for them to check your receipts? Passport, window definition, calibration notes, processing steps, code or explicit method, and your uncertainty ledger. If it cannot be audited, it cannot be certified. Now we need to keep this part deeply engaging. So let us tell it as a story across scales, from the smallest to the largest. So the listener feels that this is not bureaucratic. It is the skeleton of honesty. First, the human scale. We are buying fruit in a market. One seller says this bag weighs 1 kilogram. Another says it weighs 1 kilogram too. But one scale is uncalibrated. If the seller cannot show that the scale is accurate within, say, 20 grams, the number 1 kilogram is not public. It is private speech. Now the laboratory scale. We run a medical trial. A headline says a drug reduces risk by 30%. But if the trial did not account for dropouts, measurement error, or selection bias, the 30% is a story number. With an uncertainty budget, the claim becomes more honest. It might become 30% plus or minus 20%. That sounds less exciting, but it is usable. It tells us what we can rely on. Now the planetary scale. We measure sea level rise. Different satellites, different corrections, different drift. Without a budget, we get fighting graphs. With a budget, we get a shared range and we can compare. Now the cosmic scale. We measure a distant signal. A telescope sees a faint line in a spectrum. Another telescope sees it weaker. If we do not price instrument calibration, background subtraction, and processing choices, we will argue forever about whether the line is real. With a budget, we can say, this line is present with this uncertainty. That becomes public. Now the abstract scale, where many people sleep. Consider machine learning. Someone trains a model and says it learned the concept. But the claim, it learned concept X, often has no uncertainty budget because the measurement of concept X is not well defined. The output may be E, encodable at the behavior level, but I, interface only, at the internal meaning level. In episode 14 terms, we can certify certain performance structures, but not meaning claims, unless we can price uncertainty in the mapping from observed behavior to claimed structure. So uncertainty budgeting is not only about numbers. It is about whether a statement is even licensed to exist as a public claim. Now let us install the prediction of this part. But remember, no dynamics. Predictions here are forbidden as footprints. They are about what must fail if the rule is true. Prediction. Claims with honest uncertainty survive replication, while story claims fail across instrument lineages. What does story claims mean? It means claims that are dressed as precise, but are not priced. Claims that hide systematics. Claims that report only statistical uncertainty and ignore the rest. Those claims will create two signatures. First signature, replication chaos. Different labs get different results that do not fit inside the claimed uncertainty. Second signature, Instrument dependence. The claim appears only in one pipeline, one instrument family, one lab culture. If we see these signatures, the compiler tells us what it is. The uncertainty budget was incomplete, or the claim was overconfident, or both. Now we must give the falsifier. Falsifier. A rule that appears stable while its uncertainty propagation is demonstrably wrong under audit. This is subtle. It means imagine a claim replicates beautifully, but the uncertainty ledger is wrong on paper. That would challenge the idea that correct uncertainty accounting is necessary for stability. If that happens, we do not throw out uncertainty discipline. We investigate why stability occurred despite a wrong ledger. Maybe errors cancelled. Maybe correlations were misestimated but benign. Maybe the omitted systematic was not real. But the falsifier is real and clear. If wrong accounting systematically produces stable truth, then our gate is too harsh or misdirected. We accept that as a possibility, but we treat it as rare and suspicious, not as permission to be sloppy. Now we must state the audit artifact, because episode 14 always writes to the ledger. Audit artifact for part 13 is an uncertainty propagation ledger plus a revocation trigger table plus negative archive entries. Let us speak what those are. Uncertainty propagation ledger. A document that lists each uncertainty source, its size, how it was estimated, and how it was propagated to outputs. Revocation trigger table. A list of conditions under which we revoke certification, such as missing uncertainty lineage, propagation error, replication outside declared bounds, or failed audit. Negative archive entries. If a claim is revoked, we do not delete history. We archive the failure with its class so the community learns. Now, before we close, we must include an invariance stress test, because every part must include at least one. Here is a clean one. Stress test. Phi shift invariance. We take phi and add a constant angle to it, meaning we rotate the circle uniformly. That changes absolute phi values, but it does not change delta phi differences between events. So any certified structure must be unchanged under phi plus constant. Now, how does that connect to uncertainty? If your uncertainty budget depends on absolute phi, it is illegal. If your budget depends on delta phi within the window and is invariant under a global shift, it is legal. That is the invariance check. We can also do a window refinement stress test. If we slightly refine the window boundary but stay within the passport conditions, the claim's uncertainty should change in a predictable way. It may tighten or loosen, but it should not collapse into a different structure without warning. If it does, your claim is fragile, and the budget must reflect that fragility. Now we bring in one spoken line of the compulsory toolchain because you required it. Licensed window, then passport and coherence and identifiability, then Nmax and uncertainty, then local lift, then cuts if needed, then excisions, then certified domain D, then A equals D phi tilde, then finite jets up to Nmax, then invariance collapse, then topology and defects, then invariant basis, then stability and entities, then scale stratification, then escape test, then handoff. Now we come back. Part 13 lives at the Nmax and uncertainty segment. It makes uncertainty mandatory before the later extraction steps can be certified. Now we give one more analogy that hits across scales, and we make it feel profound but simple. Think of uncertainty like the thickness of your pencil line when you draw a map. If your pencil line is thick, you cannot claim a street is exactly here. You can only claim it is somewhere inside the line. If your pencil line is thin, you can be more precise. But if you pretend your thick line is thin, you mislead everyone. People will crash their cars. Science is map making. Uncertainty is the thickness of the line. Now the emotional heart of this part. People often think certainty is strength, but in public knowledge, certainty without accounting is weakness. It is fragility. It breaks under application. It produces scandal. It erodes trust. Honest uncertainty looks weaker in the moment, but it is stronger over time. It survives. It can be built upon. So, this part changes the definition of strength. Strength is not how confident you sound, strength is how well you price your doubt. Now we must state the revocation clause in a clean, final, uncompromising way because your prompt demands it. Revocation clause. Revoke any output that lacks an uncertainty lineage, or whose uncertainty propagation is wrong under audit, or whose replication spread violates declared bounds without justified update of the budget. And we must be explicit. Any such output is removed from the certified ledger. It may be resubmitted only with corrected uncertainty accounting and a new audit trail. Now we end with the carry line, the one sentence the listener should keep. Uncertainty is the credential. And we also close block B in the story voice. With this part, window licensing becomes complete. We have a passport system, we have a coherence license, we have identifiability, we have a ceiling, and now we have priced uncertainty with revocation. So now, when we finally begin structural extraction in the next block, we will not be extracting fantasies. We will be extracting only what has earned the right to be public. Because this is the point of episode 14. Episode 14 does not describe reality. It specifies the conditions under which reality can be described at all. Part 13 is now sealed. Audit artifact. Passport identifier, window boundary and mask, gamma status, identifiability spectrum, NMAX derivation, full uncertainty propagation ledger, invariance stress tests passed, replication conditions declared, output certified or refused, and revocation triggers recorded. Revocation clause active and armed. If we do not pay uncertainty, we do not get to speak. Always, peace be upon you.